Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. It was crazy this morning. I went to yoga and it was like the scooter didn't start this morning. So I had to Uber there. And then the Uber home, it took forever to get me. So it is what it is. But starting the morning, rushed. And I don't yoga was calm. And everyone in that yoga class is so bendy. And I'm like, how the fuck are you putting your leg there? What's happening?
Are you flexible?
Not really, but I can do some cool shit in yoga, but a little bit. I'm not a full ass person who can put my leg behind my head.
No.
Because these people are like next level. It's crazy.
Can you touch your feet? Standing up? I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't even get halfway down.
It took me a long time.
I'm so terribly inflexible. I really want to start doing yoga, but I'm a little bit scared.
Of what?
Because I'm so unflexible. It's really bad. People laugh at me when they see how unflexible I am.
I can picture you too,
Yeah.
touching your toes and just being like,
I can't do it. I
Yeah.
can't do it.
I couldn't touch my toes in college, and my college roommate was a big yogi, and she would make fun of me. And then I started going to yoga and started getting a lot more flexible. But I've always wanted to be flexible. But I think it depends on the sports you play growing up, because tennis players, I was not flexible playing tennis.
No, I guess, tennis has been my sport I've played, but soccer as well, you would expect you need to be fairly flexible, at least in the legs, to play
It's the
soccer.
hamstrings. The hamstring for tennis and for soccer, they're so tight because you do so much
True.
running.
That is a good point.
So that's why. But as opposed to if you did dance or I don't know, gymnastics or something growing up, all my friends who did those kinds of sports are so flexible now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not at all.
Yeah,
So.
I made a list of a few things back in August, I think it was. I made a list of a few things that I really wanted to take up and start doing. And one of those things was yoga, just because it looks so relaxing. People get involved in yoga and then it's almost like a cult. You become so
Yes.
heavily obsessed with it. You don't stop talking about it. You become a yoga instructor, all of these different
Yeah.
things. I'm like, I want to be a part of that.
It's really cool. It's definitely, it can get like that. Even the studio, my work gave me a 2-week gift card for free yoga for 2 weeks at this studio, and everyone there, I see the same people at these classes, but they're in deep. And I think it depends on honestly, you can just tell based on how bendy someone is really, or how these crazy poses people can get into, or if you're touching your toes or doing forward fold and you're like, oh yeah, go up into a shoulder stand and someone's doing some acrobatic shit. I'm like, who are you? But maybe that should be something. Does your gym offer yoga classes?
Yeah.
Maybe you should go to one. I'm putting it on homework for you.
And
for
they're
this week.
always at 6:30 in the morning, so it's a reason to get up.
Oh my Josh, that's a perfect thing.
I know, because it will also push me. Let's say the yoga class is an hour, then I can work out before or after. It's an incentive to get up.
Yeah. And it also forces you to get up at 6:06. Also, have you been getting up at 6:06?
I've got up twice at 6:06. So it's progress from going from
Wins!
0 to 2. It's definitely progress. It's still very much not a must. It's a kind of would like to do. It's a need. But
Yeah.
I think 2 is a good start. It's a good start.
Okay.
And we're getting somewhere with that.
Okay. That's amazing. I know we'll get into it more in the bulk of this episode, but let's spin a wheel really fast as our first little segment. All right. Physical environment. How does your home space reflect your personality?
My home space, we've had this discussion before about my flatmates being incredibly messy, and my space is incredibly neat, incredibly tidy, which is borderline ironic because I would say that my life isn't particularly neat and tidy at the moment. It's a bit all over the place, and I'm trying to get it on track and get a routine going, hence the 606. Oh,
Do you make your bed every
every
day?
single day. Yeah.
Me too. Me
I
too.
can't not. I don't know how people can't make their bed.
I don't get it. I don't get it. My college roommate also another thing she used to make fun of me for is she used to make fun of me because I made my bed every day.
Make fun of
And
you.
I'm like, "Yes." If you saw the differences in our I wish I took photos of this. And if Taylor's listening, hey, Taylor, but I wish I took photos of this because her side of the room was like a tornado hit sometimes, and then my side of the room was like everything was in its place, and it's crazy because fun fact, fun story. Like people meet their college roommates on Facebook, or at the time they met them on Facebook, and Taylor and I were messaging, and I told her up front, I was like, I am a very tidy, clean person. And she goes, me too. Like, I'm so, no, no, bitch. And I still make fun of her for this all the time, even now to this day. Girl has a baby, married with a house. And I'm like, you lied to me. You lied to me. You said you were tidy and you weren't. And your side of the room always looked like a tornado hit. So you're tidy. You're a tidy
I'm
person. I
incredibly
didn't know that.
tidy, and I think actually it does reflect to a certain amount of to a certain degree in how I am as a person and how I live my life, because I think when my home environment, when my bedroom, when my living room are a mess, it reflects really clearly in my mental health. Like I am
Yep.
anxious, I'm just not feeling good, and usually they correlate directly. So if my mental health's bad, my room will be messy, and if my room is messy, my mental health will be bad. Whereas if it's tidy, then generally speaking, I can keep a clear head. And I think it's quite commonly discussed these days. If you can't keep a tidy home environment or a tidy bedroom, then how can you keep a tidy mind?
Yeah. I think there are a lot of studies about that, specifically around making the bed. I know that there are studies around people who make the bed typically do well with
Yeah.
like those habits, those things.
I think I've seen studies
Yeah.
about people who live messier tend to be more intelligent. I saw something about that
Really?
recently, like people who don't make their beds, they're actually smarter than people who do. Or they tend to be maybe it's either they're smarter or they tend to be more successful or something along those lines, because
You know
they're pouring the energy that they could be using to tidy their room and make their bed into other things, and they don't think about that because they're too busy thinking about work and other things. Does that make any sense to
okay,
you? It doesn't look like it by your
I don't know. I really have no idea, and this is something I wanna include the community in. So, if you're listening, please, in your review or comment, leave a review or comment and let us know where you stand in this debate. Do you think tidy people are, like, smarter and higher achievers, or do you think messy people are smarter and higher achievers? And also, we wanna know if you're messy or clean at home, tell us, because let's get a debate going. Let's throw some hands in the comments.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's do
I
that.
think we're smarter and more
I think so
organized.
too.
We
I think so
respect
too, but that could
ourselves
just
more.
be because we're us. As far as, like, my home environment, I'd say the same. I'm super tidy, super clean. I'm so glad I live with a partner who's also that way too. Like, he's also very clean and tidy, which is it makes a world of a difference. I'd say see, the thing is the physical environment is something I've been feeling really challenged with because I love the building I live in. Honestly, there is nothing I love more than sitting by my pool for an hour every day. Like, it brings so much joy to my life because I can do this year round. I live in Miami, and it when I lived in the Northeast, when I lived in New York, I just missed having a pool. Like, I would go to hotels and pay like $60 for the day to sit by the pool. Growing up, we had a pool in my neighborhood, and it was always so much home the space where I think clearly, I rest, I can read, I talk on the phone, I send voice messages to you. I'll like just, like, look at the sky. The pool is, like, a happy place for me, or the beach too, but
Mhm.
pools are just more accessible. So, the building where I live in, I have a gym, a pool, a sauna, co-working spaces, like, it feels amazing to be in the building and in the location. The apartment itself, I think it's just to be honest with you, it's just the furniture that, like, gets me. I'd say, like, the thing that makes there are, like, little pieces here and there that I think show a lot of my personality. Like, my favorite thing I own, furniture-wise, or I guess it's not furniture, is my disco ball planter. It is my favorite thing I own. Anything disco ball, I'm just like, we're moving to a new place, and I'm like, "How can I incorporate more disco balls into the
Did you see my
aesthetic.
Instagram story a couple of weeks ago at the drunk bingo thing, and there was the disco ball helmet? Did you see that?
No, but I need
It was
one.
like a hat, and they just you spin around and the light just shines off it. It was really cool.
Oh my god, I love it. I have a disco ball hat I was gonna wear to Ultra, and I didn't end up wearing it because it's, like, way too big for my head, but regardless, that there's a lot of crystals and plants in my home, and I don't know if you could I know you can't see it here, but, like, right here, Paul has his art, and then right next to his art, I have but the purse looks like art, so I have, like, my bags as decor. So I guess that's how it perfect my personal space, but honestly, we pushed back our timing to move into the new apartment, and my I had a couple of thoughts there, but my one of my initial thoughts was, "How am I gonna live another year in this apartment with this couch?" That was my initial thought.
Right. But then you look at the end goal and think you have something to look forward to.
And we talked about it last week where I'm, like, saving for my furniture, like, I'm trying to get that RH Cloud couch, or my sister's an interior designer, so I'm trying to get a dupe. I love hanging out on the couch, and even if it's not just I don't own a TV, but I love hanging out on the couch. I love, like, being able to sit and get cozy, and in my life, I have not owned a couch. Actually, I've owned one futon that I, like, really loved, but it was like a futon, like, it wasn't a comfy couch.
Mhm.
I've never owned a couch in my life that I've just loved. And for someone who loves couches as much as I do, I'm really excited to own one that I'm in love with. I have a goal for the next apartment that I wanna love every single thing I own.
Mhm.
I mean, just in general, I wanna love every single thing I own in my
Of
life.
course.
Clothing, furniture, even, I don't know, my toothpaste. Like, I just wanna be really intentional about the things I'm purchasing, and I also don't wanna be like I'm a materialistic person, but I don't wanna be a hoarder. No.
Yeah. Out of interest, I know how you are with, like, sustainable fashion. With your wardrobe, would you say you wear everything that you own at the moment? Or are there
Well,
certain
'cause
things that have just gone months, years, just untouched?
it's interesting because this year I have a challenge of not buying any new clothing, right? So I am 9.5 months in. I had one slip up in the beginning, but I don't know if you'd call it a slip up. I accidentally left a shirt on in a hotel on a trip, and I bought a replacement
Okay.
shirt for that. So I don't know if and then Paul has gotten me 2 pieces of clothing as I don't know if you'd consider that cheating, but for them so I did this test actually where I had all the pieces of my clothing, and every time I wore a piece, I would move it to the back of my closet to see, like, how long it took me to wear everything, and for the most part, because I have my winter wardrobe at my parents' house, I'm not including that because when I'm there, I'll wear it, but those pieces will go obviously months and years without being worn because I don't live in a winter climate anymore, but for the most part, I'd say, like, I wear 95% of my clothing. And also, I think people would be really surprised at the fact that I love fashion, I'm a materialistic person, I'm not gonna deny that. I own way less clothing than most people. I know all my friends have tons and tons of pairs of shoes. I think I have maybe 10 pairs, maybe.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't own a lot of clothing, like, I same thing with the pieces of my in every aspect of my life, I really love my things, but I am very intentional about what I buy, and I'd rather buy one really nice thing as opposed to 5 or 10 things I'm like, "Meh." I mean, like, I own way less than a lot of people, even clothing-wise, like, for someone who loves fashion as much as I do, I think you'd be surprised at how little I own.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've just finished literally a few days ago on Sunday. I just finished moving all my stuff over from my mum's place, which has taken a few months because I moved a lot over when I first moved and then just got a bit lazy and I couldn't be bothered. So
Moving sucks.
it really does suck. And there was so much to move. I had a whole bookshelf of 100 books to move across, all of my remaining clothes. So the last few months, I've been living with pretty much half a wardrobe, even a quarter of a wardrobe. But I finally
Right.
moved it all over on Sunday. And I was unpacking and I was looking at half of the clothes and I was like, I haven't worn this ever. I've had this. It's a collection of clothes that I've accumulated throughout my 20s that have been bought for me, that I've bought for myself, that I either haven't worn ever or I haven't worn in years. But I
Yeah.
just cannot bring myself to get rid of I can't get rid of them. I just can't bring myself to do it.
Why?
I think there's a few things that go through my mind. I think it's partly to do with Possibly financial guilt in a way that I've spent this money, I should keep it because otherwise that's just £50 or whatever it is down the drain. But there's also an element of guilt towards whoever's bought those clothes for me. A lot of it has been bought by my parents and friends, and I just can't bring myself to get rid of them. Even if I'm like, I'm never going to wear that again. It's horrible. I feel so bad about getting rid of it, and this has always been a thing for me. And before I moved here, I did
Really?
a huge clear out where I just gave a bunch of clothes, 5 bags of clothes to charity. But there's
Yeah.
still a lot in there that I know that I'm not going to wear, but I just can't bring
Do you
myself to
do
get
this
rid of
with
it.
do you do this with just clothing, or do you do this with
I
thing?
would say with a lot of things, clothing is the most prominent or the most noticeable because I
Okay.
look in my wardrobe and I look in my drawers every single day. I
Yeah.
think it is prominent in other areas as well. I mean, again, technically I haven't finished moving all of my stuff over because there's a lot of small ornaments and things that I haven't yet moved over. And again, they're things.
An ornament? Do you mean like a knickknack?
What's a knickknack?
Because in my I was like, you said ornament. I'm like, what the fuck's an ornament? Because I picture like a Christmas ornament.
Ornament to me is like, or what's a knickknack? Uh,
A knickknack would be like a knickknack is like a little piece of something you'd put on like a table that has no functional use
yeah, it's
whatsoever.
an ornament. It's yeah, it's something that you put out and is there for decoration, basically. It's there to
Yeah,
look
yeah.
pretty.
I would call my Paul calls my crystals knickknacks.
Okay. Okay, I mean, I guess crystals, I mean, they do also technically, I guess, have a function, but they are.
But
I
like
wouldn't say they're ornaments, though.
Paul's parents like buy us little oh my god, it drives me nuts. They buy these little like ceramic turtles when they go on vacation and they just sit there. And I'm like, why?
That's
I don't
it,
want this
yeah.
fucking turtle. That's an ornament.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. So you got some
I mean,
little
for
knickknacks
example, I've
and
got over there next to my bath in my bedroom, I've got like a line of different ornaments. So there's like a Buddha's head
Mhm.
there. There's an elephant that I got from
Okay,
India. There's a baseball from a Padres game. So there's all these
got
different
it.
things that they just sit there. They don't have a function. I'm never going to use that baseball from the Padres game because it's cool to just have there. Um,
Yeah.
so things like that. But there's things that
Yeah.
like there's a lot of those things that I could just get rid of. Video games, I think when I moved all my books over and I was stacking them up and I was like, "Hang on a sec, that's not a book." And there was a case, like a video game case from a PlayStation
Yeah.
1 game. I don't even own a PlayStation 1 anymore.
Wow.
I haven't who does? I haven't had one for 20 years. But
Wow.
I have the game still, and I can't bring myself to get rid of it because I'm like, "This has so much sentimental value."
Right. I mean, okay, so just for me, I like to do a biannual purge. Like I like to do a big purge every year and then a small purge about 6 months through the year where I go through every single thing I own. I love to get rid of shit. I love it. Like I don't like to own a lot. I go through every single thing I own, and if I don't need it, if I don't like it, if it doesn't not necessarily does it bring you joy or not because I know that's helpful, but sometimes you just need something. And I get rid of it or I donate it or whatever. And I think next week is the purge for me and Paul. Paul hates doing it too. He like can't get rid of anything. When we purged his room in his parents' place before we moved, we found homework from the first grade and just stuff like that. Like a class, like just random stuff like that. It's like no one needs that. So I'm doing my purge next week if you want to
But
join
I
me.
also have that. So the scariest part of moving from my mum's, to be honest, I haven't even started on this, is under my bed over there. So I have the kind of bed, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you do have similar where you can lift the bed up and then there's just storage
Yeah.
underneath, right? So I had one of those and I at my mum's and there's loads of just boxes of like for my MacBook, for my iPhone, like for all these different for old phones that I've had, phones that I've just boxes that I've just kept just in case. I don't know what I'm gonna
Yeah.
need them for. But
No, just toss them.
also homework from when I was like 5, 6 years old that is just like sentimental. It's like cute to go look through that and see it after years away. And I'm like, oh, I was so cute.
I mean, listen, if you wanna what I would suggest doing is having one box of memory and nostalgia stuff. Like, I have that at my mom's house. There's stuff I cannot get rid of it, and it's one box. It's like trophies and just, like, a favorite thing as a kid. But one thing, because I know we were talking about side hustles at some point, one thing that I think would be really cool as a side hustle is if you went through all your shit, and you could start with each area of your life. You could start with your wardrobe, and you go and you sell the stuff you don't want.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea on paper, but when I've done this before, so again, before I moved to my mum's,
Yeah.
from my mum's to my new place,
Yeah.
I did a huge clear out of my wardrobe because the drawers were just overflowing with stuff that I was just never gonna wear. And I literally had 5 full trash bags, like big trash bags of clothes that I took to charity shops, and I could have listed those and sold them, but realistically, how much are they gonna sell for? They're not I've had them for years, they're old pieces of clothing that I'm not gonna be able to make much money from them, but a charity shop maybe can, and it's gonna go to a better cause with a charity shop. So that's my thought with clothes is every time I do a big clear out, I just take it to charity because I've never thought
Yeah.
that it's gonna make much money.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I know for me, if I sold my shit, like, it'd be worth some shit.
Mm,
But I don't know your stuff, but again, it doesn't even just have to be clothing, like, those PS1 games, like, you might be able to sell
maybe.
those. Even now, I'm clearing out my mom's place. Every time I go, I try to clear out some stuff, and I sell some stuff on Facebook Marketplace, and even my old Lady Gaga piano book, or my mom's old ring light, or an old kettle that we never took out of the box. I'm selling these things for
Mm,
$5 at a time, but still, it adds
it
up, and
does.
it's, like, slowly clearing shit out, but I do think a purge is really helpful. I'd consider doing one. I'm doing mine next week. I'll touch back we can touch back on that, we can touch back on that next week, but I would encourage you to start purging as
Yeah,
well.
for sure. I mean, right now, and I was quite proud of this because I was worried. I was like, I have so many clothes, but in my new place, I don't have that much sort of wardrobe space. And I was like, there's no way my clothes are going to fit in these. So I'm going to have to do a purge regardless. However, they literally fit perfectly. And there's one drawer left over.
That drawer is for Savita, okay? So,
Right.
let's be real
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
That drawer is for her to have some pajamas and her toothbrush, just some stuff.
Okay.
But I'm just saying go through your shit and clear it out, and there's so much resistance there, and it's really interesting to me, like, why you feel so resistant, and I know you're not alone because there are a lot of people out there, I know Paul's one of them too, where they just can't get rid of their shit.
No. It's something that it's been a theme throughout my life. I get anxiety over chucking stuff out. It's definitely there's something deeper there about it. I
Yeah.
think
Why do you feel anxiety for getting rid of
it's
stuff?
I think it's about, like, am I gonna regret this? I get rid of this I find this T-shirt, I'm like, "Man, I haven't worn this in 27 years." And I get it out and I'm like, "But I might wear it tomorrow. I can't get rid of it. I might wear it tomorrow." And obviously that's complete bollocks, but I
For so
that's what
take
goes
it
through
from
my head.
someone who gets rid of my shit twice a year. I never regret it. Like, I cannot tell you a time that I've thrown something away or given something away and I've regretted it. Like, maybe one time, maybe one pair of shoes,
Mm.
and I was like, "Where are those shoes?" And then I was like, "Oh, man, I gave them away." And I was like, "Oh, I have a similar pair of shoes, so it's fine."
Yeah,
But
that
one
I
time,
get that, and I
but like
also when I did the big clear out and I had, like, 5 bags that I sent to charity, I would say for a good 3 days afterwards, my mind kept going back to, "Oh my god, what have I done? What have I done? This is a disaster. There's stuff in there that I need." And I couldn't think of a specific item, but there were things that I chucked out, and I was like, it could just cause me anxiety, and it passed, and I haven't thought about it since. I don't even remember any of the clothes that were in there, except for one jacket that Lucas gave me years ago.
right.
But yeah, no, you're right. I think you don't need to overthink about it. Overthink it so
No, you
much.
really
Yeah.
don't. You really don't, and I think if you haven't worn it in the last 1 to 2 years, and, like, a 1 to 2 years is a long time. If you haven't worn it in the last year, just just get rid of it. But if it's, like, sentimental, if something's super important to you that you haven't worn, okay, put it in a box,
Yeah.
but most things aren't, like, and also my rule, at least with buying clothing, is that unless I am in love, like, in love with a piece, I don't buy it,
Mm.
and I think it's the same thing for keeping things. If you're not in love I mean, maybe it's different because I, like, am a fashion geek, but if you're not in love with something, if something doesn't make you feel good when you put it on, if you're not like, "Ooh, I'm hot, spicy Josh spring chicken," if you're not feeling like that when you put something on, like, why keep it,
True, true.
you
But
know?
Actually, just a perfect example that literally happened. I guess it was yesterday or 2 days ago. What was it yesterday? No, yeah, it was on Monday. Have you heard of the Rocky Horror Show? Rocky Horror, and have you seen it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've
Yeah, yeah,
seen
yeah.
it. I
See,
haven't gone to, like, a
no, but
live
you know
show,
what
but I
it's
have definitely
about,
watched it.
transvestites, that kind of thing, and I've seen it 3 or 4 times now, and I went a couple of years ago to a show here, and they were selling there at a merch store, and they had a
Mhm.
T-shirt which had, it was a black T-shirt with a white bra and just silly,
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't wanna dress up as a transvestite yourself, wear this T-shirt. Okay. And
Right.
I was never gonna wear it again, but I thought it'd be funny to buy it and wear it to the show. I've kept it for the last 6 years since I bought it. I've kept it in just in case something happens where I might need to wear it again. On Monday, I went to the Rocky Horror Show again in theater, and I was like, "This is what it's been waiting for. This is the opportunity. This is why I've kept it for all these years." And of course, I wore it on Monday, but I won't wear it again until if I ever go to the show again. But that's what
Yeah.
goes through my head. I'm like, there will be a day in 6 years' time where I might need to wear this again.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
And I
That's
mean,
really
that
funny.
shirt is not I don't love it, and I don't wear it when I go out on a hot date and think, "My god, I look great in this."
No, but for Halloween or
Yeah.
something, I
Okay.
get it, I get it, and there are definitely pieces in my wardrobe like that too. Like, I made it so it's a little different, but I made my prom dress senior year, and it's this, like, corset that I love how disco balls are the theme. It's I made a mosaic out of mirrors on it, and it's like, why first of all, why keep it? But then I was like I kept it because, number 1, I made it, and it's sentimental because it was my prom dress, but I wore it to a Lady Gaga show, like, it's a great thing to wear to, like, a party, whatever, like, I've kept it for that. So, like, these kind of, like, obscure Halloween-like pieces like, I had some weird funky pants. Okay, that was another thing I regretted getting rid of. I had these, like, weird funky pants, and I used to wear them, and then I got rid of them, and it's, like, a great thing to wear, like, to a
Mhm.
festival. And I've been getting ready for festival, and I'm like, "Where are those pants?" And then I realized I got rid of
Oh,
them.
no.
But it's like it's those, like, weird, unique situations. But I'd suggest you go through your shit and purge a little bit, or at least just try a couple drawers.
Mhm. I definitely need to.
Not just yeah, I put it on the list, and I'm purging next week too, so maybe we can do a little
Okay.
purge. But getting it not to this, like, tangent has been for every for everyone listening, thanks for bearing with us. Listen, this is part of the mastermind, it's fine. Something that we didn't get a chance to touch on last week that I really wanted to touch on this week was you wrote some sort of manifesto
Yeah.
thing. Can you share what that is? What's happening with it?
Yeah.
What's
So
yeah.
so effectively what it is what we do every week with the masterminding, with the wheel of life, but it's taking that a little bit further. So when I don't know about you, but every time that I've done the wheel of life, I do it maybe once a month, sometimes once every couple of weeks. I do it semi-frequently. But what I'll do is I'll give myself a score for each of the areas, and I write down what I need to do to take it to a 10. But what I thought would be a good idea is if I actually wrote out a kind of book, like a manual, almost like a Bible in a way, like my own personal Bible, that if I live by these rules, I will get to the goals that I want to achieve in each area. So what I did is I sat down for a few hours and I got a notebook, a new notebook that I sort of ripped out all the other pages and I titled it the Josh Manifesto.
Okay.
And I wrote chapter by chapter each area of the Wheel of Life. And under each area, I wrote, what are my goals? What do I want from this area?
Like long
Long
term
term, short
or
term,
okay.
a mixture. But I think the core focus of this is more long term.
Okay.
And the idea is to put the long term goals in, and then you write some shorter term goals to achieve to help you get to the longer term goal.
Okay.
And then underneath that, writing how. So what I need to do, who I need to be, and actually going into very specific details. And so
Mm,
instead of dedicating 2 or 3 lines on a piece of paper to my wheel. I've now I've now dedicated 2 or 3 pages to in detail look at what I want from that area of my life and how I can achieve it. And
Right.
for me, at the moment, I'm trying to read it every single day, every night before I go
Okay.
to bed so that I can remember it and try and manifest it to an extent. It's a handbook that I can look back on and think, so my social life is suffering right now. Why is it suffering? And I'll go and check the social area of the manifesto, and it will be guaranteed almost that I'm not doing one of those things that I said I need to do. And if I
Right.
start doing those, then I'll get back onto track. And that is a work in progress because obviously more things will come up down the line and you have to
Yeah.
rewrite it here and there. But I think what I've got at the moment is a pretty good in detail guidebook as to how I need to live my life, what I want from my life, and all the different areas in very specific detail.
Oh, okay, interesting. It reminds me a little bit of the RPM
Yeah.
method, the Tony Robbins RPM method. The only thing I think you're missing there is the why. Like you're clear about what you want and you're clear about the how, but the why doesn't seem like you wrote it. Maybe you did, I don't know. Really interesting as far as these hows go, because I think sometimes the only challenge I see with us and these like goal setting things is like just as an example, right? We talk about these big goals and then or we talk about some of even the smaller goals and then we just don't do it. And then we keep talking and talking without any action and then we just get stuck in this trap. So, as far as you've been specific about the hows, do you feel like you've actually been keeping up with the hows or
Listen,
where you
there's a lot of hows, and I think writing out I wouldn't say an entire book, but it's probably about 30, 40 pages that I've written out. There's a lot in there, and I'm not gonna be able to get it right off the bat.
Yeah.
But the way I compared it actually, and to take this how you want to take it, but this is the comparison that helped me believe in this process, is like the Bible. You think about the Bible, which is basically, in a way, a set of rules that people live their life by, that people believe in order to dictate how they live, in order to dictate how they can be happy and successful. And it's done in the form of stories and commandments and all of the different things. But people don't memorize the Bible from the moment they're born or from the moment they first read it for the first time. People go to Bible study class every Sunday or every month. And over time, they start to remember all the different verses and all the different teachings that they can take from the Bible. And that's why when you're speaking to, I'm not a Christian myself, but when you're speaking to a Christian or a Muslim, or it happens from all the different religious texts, they will
Yeah.
quote that text to you. Let's say you're struggling with suicidal thoughts. A lot of the time, these people, they will give you a quote from that religious text as to why you shouldn't or how you can get through this. And again, they didn't remember that from the very beginning necessarily, but over studying the religious text over time, they got there eventually. And that's the way I see this, is that I'm not necessarily, I finished it up about a week or so ago, a week and a half or so ago. And I'm not necessarily going to get it right off the bat, but I can't be harsh on myself for that. Over time, if I keep reading it, keep studying it, keep making notes, keep adding to it, eventually I will get that balance. And for me, as we've discussed before with the wheel of life and how important it is to keep updating it and to keep looking at those different areas as to how you can balance your life. For me, I've got this book now, which is like a perfect blueprint, almost perfect blueprint. It's not quite perfect, as to how I can live my life or how I can live my dream life and what I need
Right.
to do to get to that point. And if I'm not doing the things in the book, then that's on.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. It's a really interesting practice, I think, and also to keep in the same way that you compared it to the Bible or to like a religious text where you're not gonna be perfect all the time. It's just the whole point of life is the process and progression of continual growth. No one's ever gonna be perfect all the time. It's just a matter of what can you do today to improve? What can you do today to move towards what you want? What can you do today to live more aligned with your vision of who you are and where you wanna go with your life? And it's just that's the whole point of this thing is like, every day we wake up and we either get a little bit better or a little bit worse. What's been going well this past week? What has not been going well this past week? I know you woke up at 6:06 twice.
Yep, twice. That's been going well to an extent, obviously is better than nothing. But from the wheel, I'm just thinking mental health has been incredible this last week or so. Honestly, I briefly mentioned this to you, I think last week, that I genuinely think since stopping drinking, I don't know if it's a placebo effect or something, but I feel like I'm claiming my mind back. And it's not just the drink, it's the drugs. I genuinely just feel really good at the moment mentally. And regardless
Yeah.
of where I am in my career, which is the main thing that's been holding me back, or in finances, which is looking better now, I just feel good. I feel a little bit unshakable at the moment, which is really nice. For the first time in God knows how long, it's been a long time since I felt that way. So mental health is doing really well. Career, to be honest, work is actually going pretty well as well. I'm closing some big deals. I'm about to close this huge deal, which is the biggest one since I joined the company. So yeah, it's going well. But I think the main thing for me at the moment that I'm struggling with is my home environment, in all honesty. I luckily over the last week have generally speaking had my apartment to myself. One of my flatmates was in LA visiting my sister, and my other flatmate has been working nights, so he's just been sleeping during the day and then out in the evenings and during the night, so I haven't seen him at all. And it's been so nice. Like, I've realized how much I love this apartment. I knew that already, but I know I've realized how much I love keeping it tidy more than anything. And now my flatmate who was in LA is coming back, and I just know that things are going to get difficult again. And I have I have a line round the corner of people who want to move in, of my friends who want to take that room and both rooms, to be honest. But I'm finding it really hard to justify kicking my current flatmates out, and I'm not enjoying living with them. It's too messy, too much disrespect in the apartment. And I don't know, maybe it's just because maybe this is the people pleaser in me, but I'm just finding it so hard to justify getting rid of them and also whether it'll make a difference. I'm worried that I'll kick them out. They're reliable tenants, they're long-term tenants, but I'm worried that I'll kick them out and replace them with my friends, and it'll be the same situation where my friends are also just as bad, but actually is even more awkward because they're my friends. So
Right.
that's my big challenge at the moment.
I had a thought and then it just woo, it just left. And then I know we talked about this over voice messages a couple weeks ago, but oh, here was my question. My question was, you have a proper lease with these people?
No, so I have a contract with them that I wrote myself with the help of my mum, and I can basically kick them out at any point. And obviously I want to be nice, I want to be kind, I don't want to be an asshole and just give them a week's notice. And in an ideal world I would, but I'm not that person. So I can kick them out whenever technically.
Right. I mean, roommate challenges are not new for you. Let's be real. Like, you've had definitely some nightmare stories with roommates. Okay. But I do think it's important to learn how to work with the people you're living with. And I know this is something that we've talked about over voice messages a couple weeks ago, but maybe it's a chance for you to learn how to live with these people in a way that makes sense. Like, I would get clear about what are the things that you need from them, and then I would sit down and maybe have a monthly roommate meeting, and maybe you guys go out of the apartment. Maybe you, like, do something a little fun, go out of the apartment, and not just what you need from them, but what they need from you, and I would sit down and get really clear about that. Don't do it over text because it's always misconstrued. The tone is always taken the wrong way, and just explain to them, be like, and you can tell them where your head is. Just be like, "Listen, the common spaces need to be tidy. This is what that means.
Yeah.
It means A, B, C, D, E, F, G. if these things aren't something that you can live with, we'll give it another shot for another, and give them the boundaries. Be like, let's try it again for another X months. And if it still doesn't feel like we're vibing, maybe we can consider changing things up. Just be like, I want to make this work with you guys, and laying out for them, because it is your home. You did purchase the home, and just laying out for them, these are the kind of things that I need from the common spaces. These are like the ground rules, and ask them, does that sound good to you? And ask them, is there any pet peeves that you guys have that I can do?
Yeah.
And for the next time, it's important to have these rules before, like setting those expectations and boundaries before people move in.
Yeah, I think
But
the
now
issue
you have
with
to work with the situation you're in.
that this
Yeah.
time was that this is the first time, obviously, I've had my place, and
Yeah.
previously I have had flatmate situations such as Dubai, which you know all about, but those were not my apartment. I was moving
Yeah.
in with people who were already there, or another person was the landlord. Whereas now this is my place, and I didn't really know what rules I would want in place. With the other places, it was like they were disgusting, they were messy, but couldn't really do much about it. It's not my place. And we had house rules in place. We all did our bit, but it's not my place. I can't put my foot down. Whereas with this one, I'm like, this is my place, and I want to have it my way, and I want to have it clean. I want it to be respected. And so it's new for me. It was the learning experience. I didn't know what I wanted when moving in. I didn't know that I wouldn't want people's shoes to be left in the hallway. I didn't know that I wouldn't want people to draw with chalk on the carpet, which I feel goes without saying. But yeah, so it's been a learning experience, and I'll know for the next time. But it's
Right.
about getting to that point, I think, getting to the next time.
Right. But at the same time, like, I wouldn't discount trying to work things out right now
Yeah.
with these current roommates,
Mm.
because it is teaching you some valuable skills about how to coexist with people, and how you have the tools and the skills to have these conversations. But I think it's a matter of actually sitting down and getting clear about it, and setting the be like, let's try this for another X amount of months. And if we're still having issues, maybe we should consider a switch. But getting, like, really clear about what you expect from them, what they expect from you, if everyone's in agreement with that, and maybe the consequences too, be like, "Listen, if this isn't fixed within so and so amount of months, I think we should consider a switch."
Yeah.
Because but I wouldn't just jump immediately to kicking them out, because it doesn't give people the chance to grow and learn.
No, true. This is true. I feel like there have been many conversations already, though, where I have said to them, this is how I feel. Yeah, it's not that it's not working out, but there are certain aspects, basically telling them what I feel and what I want to be done. And I've had pushback on that. That's been the problem, is that I have given them the opportunity to change, especially one of them, and they just push back and make it very difficult to stamp my authority, I guess. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be that guy. I want to be their friend. I want to be their friendly flatmate. I don't want them to see me as a landlord, but I think that approach has got me nowhere so far. And so I've started to think, actually, I don't care that much about the friendship anymore. Yes, I want to be amicable with them, but I don't care. Ultimately, I am their landlord over their friend. And that attitude, I think, is what's going to get me to actually put these rules in place and make them stick to them.
Right. I would say definitely have a conversation with them and see. I don't know when the one flatmate comes back from the States, but
Yeah.
maybe setting a time and a schedule today. Okay. Maybe just to be like, "Hey guys, let's have a roommate meeting, like, when works for you guys. Get out of the apartment." And then just be like, and just make a list, and then make sure that you're asking you're being like, "Does that sound good to you guys?" Ask what they want too, if there's anything from them. But get out of the apartment, do it in person, and get really specific. Just be like, "Listen, I don't like shoes in the hallway. What things can we do like a team to keep that from happening? Do you need, like, a shoe basket? Do you need whatever?" And almost include them in the thing. I don't know if you read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Yeah.
People. Did you read
Hmm.
that? Okay. There's a chapter where he talks about they have a family meeting, and they come up with a family, like, mission statement, and then they each separate. They're like, "This is how we can all contribute to the mission statement." And he gives this really great example about his son. It's his son's responsibility to keep the yard clean. And they set an agreement. And they're like, it's your responsibility to keep the yard clean. This is what that means. And these are the consequences. We'll have check-ins every once in a while. And if it doesn't get better, these are the consequences. Does that sound good to you? And he says yes. And then later down the line, you have to encourage them to take responsibility for that. But I do suggest like you sit there and actually have that conversation with them instead of jumping to kicking them out. And then when you have that conversation with them, be like, listen, if things don't get better in 3 months, I think we should consider making a switch.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to
Yeah.
do it. I want to give them a chance and I want it to work out because it's not in my interest to kick anyone out. I like them both as people,
Yeah.
but they have made things quite difficult recently. Yeah, I think it's just a conversation when everyone is around. In person is essential as well. I think that's really important. And
Yeah.
Just ironing everything out in one conversation.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so for sure. Cool.
Yeah, so that's sorted then. Should be sorted. I think that'll be okay. But
All right, I actually wrote down each of our
nice.
things
Great
to
idea.
this week.
Great
So
idea.
this way we don't forget what our homework is because we've gotten stuck in that loop where it's like, oh, we're going to do this week and then it doesn't happen.
We have. So I think that's a pretty easy task for me to do. And to be honest, generally speaking, every other area of my life is thriving at the moment, so I can't really complain.
Yeah.
I'm in a pretty good place, but how are you?
I'm doing really well. I've been back in Miami for a week and a half now after traveling, and it feels so good to be home. It feels so good to be back in my routine again. I feel so productive. I feel like happy and productive. Like I have my life just it's in the flow. It feels really good. And I started this new thing, time blocking, where I think 2 weeks a week and a half ago, basically when I got home, I time blocked for the whole month based on what I might have to adjust for the next couple weeks, but it's really helpful to have the time blocking where it's okay, this time to this time I work on my 9 to 5. This time to this time I work on my podcast. This time to this time I work on my home stuff, the admin work, like stuff with my own life. This time to this time is social time. And having that all blocked out it's kept me so productive because I'm not bouncing back and forth. I'm not like looking at my to-do list and being like, oh man, like what can I do right now? It's oh, this is my time to do this. Is my time to do this. And it's really helped my productivity a lot. And I feel like I'm way more efficient.
That's
I'm way
very
more
interesting.
efficient
And
with
you
that.
actually stick to it?
For the most part, like sometimes I'll have to adjust a little bit based on what's happening, but for the most part, so it's like general times. So yeah, I've been sticking to it pretty well. It's been really helpful with my efficiency and I feel like I've gotten so much done and I feel like I finish my work early because I'm not bouncing back and forth. It's okay, this is my time to work on my podcast. And I do that and so oh wow, I finished all my work early. Last week I finished everything I had to do by Thursday. So Friday I signed off. Like I didn't have to do anything else, which was really nice. Areas of my life are for the most part going really well. I'm still working on we talked last week a little bit about the marketing for my first podcast and I've been really approaching it with how can I add more value? How can I have more fun? How can I make this more entertaining? And that shift has been really interesting and something I'm wanting to focus on right now. Something that's really been sticking out to me is I want to limit my screen scrolling time for sure. Like I think there are 3 people I want to look at on Instagram consistently solely for studying purposes, like solely for I really like what these people are doing. How can I emulate the things that I'm inspired by? And just cutting the rest of the scrolling. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. I'm thinking like maybe my podcast account, maybe I just follow those people only and only scroll on that account and my personal just like keep it to answer DMs and just to post whatever. That's how I'm approaching it. But one thing I'm really feeling challenged by is I heard this quote saying like if you can't measure it, you can't improve it regarding business. And I'm looking at the data gathering for my podcast isn't the best, to be honest with you. Like the platform I'm using doesn't give me the best data. The social media, like I don't really have the best data on where people are converting. Like how are people finding my podcast? Are they finding it through direct search? Are they finding it through social media? I don't know. So I feel like I'm putting my energy and effort into things that might not be relevant at all. Let's say no one finds my podcast through social and everyone's finding it through direct search. Maybe I should be spending most of my time on SEO instead of market. So I think data collection and really working on how to get the most, I'm writing this down, how to get the most data and how to measure what I need to in order to improve my business. Because right now I'm just flying blind and that just doesn't seem smart. It doesn't seem like a smart and
No,
like way to
definitely.
use my energy.
And of course, the top companies with their marketing, they have all the data, they have all the analytics, and they use it to their advantage. Do you have any idea how you can get that data?
No. And I think that's my homework
It
is to
must be a
figure that
way.
out. Yeah, I'm sure. And I don't really want to change podcast platforms. I'm just wondering maybe do I need to upgrade in order to get more data? Curious. I just have to look and see what's the best way to gather the data. So whatever that looks like, I think just focusing on that would be really helpful. So that's one thing I'm feeling challenged with, but right now I'm in ovulations. I'm like, it's not the time of the month for me to be doing the research on that. But next week I move into luteal, which is when I'll be doing a lot of the like admin deep work about figuring out where can I get this data? How can I improve the systems? So that's something I'll be working on moving into next week. That's on my mind. And then also, I know we've talked about this before, and I know it's been my homework before, but the food stuff, like this past weekend, we went crazy. Granted, it is like Miami Spice, which is basically like my restaurant week, but for 2 months straight. So we've been going out to eat a good amount. But this last weekend, I went crazy. And even the stuff at home, I'm not even following my own rules. Like I had the rule, we've talked about me releasing control of the reins more and just giving myself more and more leeway to do whatever I want. And I feel like I've come to a point where it's okay, I need to figure out a system that works for me. I don't know what that looks like. For the most part, what it looks like is eating super clean at home. And then when
Mhm.
I'm out, being a little bit more flexible. But even at home, like for the most part, I'm good. But there are a couple things here and there. Like it's pumpkin season. So I bought fucking pumpkin spice coffee creamer. And that's not good for you.
Yeah.
Like there's sugar in that and like gross stuff in there. And but it's like the season. Like you really only get the pumpkin stuff for a month, you know? So I don't know what, just like trying to figure out a system that makes sense for me. And even going out, no, no, I really want to spend some time in deep reflection, thinking about the food systems and figuring out what I want to do there because I'm feeling blocked and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see how it's impacting my health again. Because I don't want to be too strict to the point where it's like a problem and
Of
it's
course.
limiting my life, but I do want to continue to prioritize my health and the food and everything.
Of course, that's always important. But as you say, you've got to be careful not to take it too far. You've got to prioritize your health 90% of the time. I always had the rule, or I set out the rule as part of my way of life a couple of years ago that I wanted to eat clean 90% of the time. I'm allowing myself 10% of the time for cheat meals, for the fast food, but the rest of it, I need to eat healthily. I need to eat non-processed foods. Generally speaking, I try and stick to it. And if I edge over that 10%, I start to feel guilty about it. So I completely understand that. And I also just feel a bit just crappy. You don't feel good. It doesn't make you, not even from a mental perspective, it just doesn't make you feel good from a
Right.
physical perspective as well.
I mean, if you think about it just numbers wise, right? Let's say I don't typically eat 3 meals a day. So let's call it 3 meal, or I guess let's call it 2 a day, 2 meals a day. Which isn't, I typically just snack through the day and then eat dinner with Paul. But let's call it 2. 2 meals a day, 7 days a week, which is what, 14 meals. So that gives you 10% of that would be 1.4 meals. Let's round up to 2,
Mhm.
right? Okay. So that's 2 cheat meals a week. Like that seems, I don't know why that seems so difficult to me.
So you're saying that the 2 cheat meals a week, it sounds like not enough?
Yeah. Like honestly, through the week, Monday through Thursday, I'm totally good. It's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday that get me. And one of the systems I had in the past was 1 cheat meal Friday, 1 cheat meal Saturday, 1 cheat meal
Yeah,
Sunday. And like
I was about to say that, yeah.
that seems honestly, it might just like eating clean at home and then having one cheat meal per weekend day, which I'm considering Friday like a weekend day. That might be a good system. It's just like sticking to it's a
Yeah, I
little
mean, if Friday, Saturday, Sunday is your biggest challenge, and you say throughout the week you're fine, then surely that sounds like a pretty easy solution on
okay.
paper.
Yeah. On paper, yeah, maybe I'll give it a shot this week. Spend some time in deep reflection, really thinking about that and thinking about it, but also acting on it and like planning ahead, honestly. Like, I don't know I don't know if I have any crazy plans. I have Pate night on Saturday. My girlfriends are coming, or I have a couple girlfriends coming over, but those are always really healthy evenings, like, because I make the snacks. So it's like vegetables and guac and like hummus that I make, and that's healthy. Maybe like I might go out to dinner with Paul twice. So those would be the cheat meals, and then that would be that, I guess. So that's where I'm at, and I think that's what I'm gonna do this weekend is just try to 1 cheat meal per weekend day at the maximum
Yeah,
and see next week if I can maintain it. Because when I'm Monday through Thursday, I'm cool.
yeah.
Like, I eat clean, I'm good, so,
Then it sounds
yeah,
achievable to me anyway.
I think
Obviously,
so.
it's different for you, and you say you struggle with it, but give it a go this weekend and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, and you gotta do the 606. How's it working with your phone across the room? Is that working better?
So the 2 nights that I did that are the 2 mornings that I woke up at 6:06. So yes, that is the
Okay,
game
great.
changer, yeah.
Okay, amazing, amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So my homework this week is I gotta set up we talked about this before we hit record, but I gotta set up the Instagram for us. I need to start gathering data for the pod, for my podcast, and I need to create and stick to a food system, which is 1 cheat meal Friday, 1 cheat meal Saturday, 1 cheat meal Sunday. For you have 3 things too, or kind of 4. You need to go to a yoga class.
Okay, yeah,
Go to a yoga class at your gym.
cool.
Purge a little bit your wardrobe or your closet, like 1 to 2 drawers, give it a shot. Have a conversation with your roommates in person, and then wake up at 6:06
Okay,
every day.
okay.
That's the homework. Ah, it's nice chatting. Honestly, it's so good. I know we're gonna talk, like, when we normally talk this week on our voice
Yeah,
messages,
but it's
but
nice to talk properly, actually. I can
yeah,
see your face. We can actually go back and forth. It's really nice.
it's so nice, and, when we send voice messages back and forth, these things are crazy, and then half of my voice messages, I'm like, "What am I even saying?" I don't know.
I think the concept of voice messages is so funny because you think about it, you're sending me, like, between 10 and 20 minutes of just a monologue of just you talking, and
Yeah.
I reply back with a 15-minute monologue. It's just it's such a funny idea that you're just talking effectively to yourself, but then you
Mhm.
are obviously talking to me, but you're technically in that moment, you're just talking to your phone for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
It's just a funny concept.
Exactly. It's so funny to me, and it's like the thing I have a friend who, when we send voice messages back and forth, she listens to them multiple times to make sure she replies to each part, and I'm like, "No, girl, don't do that." I was like, "If I'm sending 10, 20-minute voice messages, don't replay them." I'm like, "Just reply to the things you remember."
With your long voice messages, with the ones that exceed like 10 minutes, I'll just take notes. I'll literally get a notepad out and I'll just take notes. And I try and remember everything, but it doesn't always happen.
No, I've had a couple friends where it's like, "We should send separate like, little separate ones," and I'm like, "Yes, I could, but nah, I don't know." I don't know. We'll figure it out, but we'll definitely talk then, and in the meantime, we got our homework. I'll text you what the homework is just so
Yes,
we can remember,
please.
and we'll chat next week. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.